I have officially given up. Yes, the title of this video is true. I have officially given up on trying to convince people it's a smart idea to buy crypto dips. We've shown all the numbers, all the case studies, and if you look back, historically, it's always been wise to, when crypto goes down like crazy, buy it all up like a freaking maniac. And even though it might hurt for a little bit, in the end, it would have been a good decision. But when I look at the comment section of my most recent videos, it's most people, I'm going to say 1/3 actually, not most, but a lot of people still saying the bull run is over. This one is the last comment I just received. Bull run is over, time to hunker down and bleed profits. I still don't understand why people are thinking that this run is going to be so different than all the other ones in a really negative light. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that watches the channel more often or for a longer time that whenever you see these scary sell waves, that at the opposite side there are some of the bigger institutions, some of the bigger players, and mostly some of the longer term strategists that are just actively buying. So when you're selling into all this fear, and that's for the most part what it is, where there's crazy amounts of liquidations. I think we saw $1 billion worth over the past 24 hours a little bit ago. We saw crazy amounts of fear over on Twitter, crazy amounts of capitulations where people just give up on everything they stand for, etc., etc. And I personally think that this is the way to go about it. The feeling you've got right now, take a mental snapshot of it, right? Take it in. So you can look back in 6 months from now and laugh about it. This too shall pass. It always does. And again, I explain this in almost every single one of my videos. If you really do not believe that crypto will go above where it is today, this is not financial advice, but it is very logical. Short it like crazy, because if you did this last week when I proposed the same thing, you would have made crazy amounts of money. The reason I am not doing that is because I'm very fearful that crypto will just skyrocket from here on forward, and I actively believe that that will happen. Yes, it might take a little bit of time, but like I always say, let's say you start buying at 60,000. Your second buys are, 55. Your third buys are at 50. Maybe you do more buys in the middle. Just make sure you buy your way down. How low can we go? Hey. I was thinking of a song for a second. But no, it's a real question. How low can the Bitcoin price, or any crypto price for that matter, really go before starting to move back up? We have seen some pain, sure. But how much worse can it get? It's funny if I say that now and I look at the crypto price in an hour and we're down another 40%. But I kid you not, back in 2021, a lot of the stuff we're seeing now was more common. And on Forbes, you can actually see crypto comeback, Bitcoin, Ether, and other assets climb after US recession fears spark heavy losses. And if you scroll through this, you'll notice that some of the losses that cryptos took was akin to what we saw at the FTX collapse back in 2021. It is kind of funny though that the jump situation, which coincidentally here that says the jump, but I mean jump trading, selling off crazy amounts of assets just before the price dumped like crazy. It's two-parted. On the one hand, they sold it just before things went crazy. On the opposite side, they aided in the prices coming down so hard because, again, they might have made the prices jump more than they should have based on recession fears, based on perhaps the stock market doing so bad as well. Because, again, some of those have seen some historical losses, some of the worst historical losses, I should say. And crypto markets crashed on Monday in one of the sector's worst routes since two of the top crypto assets went mainstream this year with the launch of spot Bitcoin and spot Ether ETFs in US in January and July respectively. Ether notched its worst day since 2021 in the downturn, with Bitcoin and other assets like Dogecoin also sinking to 6-month lows. Even with the contraction, the market has still grown nearly 70% since this time last year, and Bitcoin reached an all-time high of nearly $74,000 earlier this year. Let's again step back and see that everything is crashing right now. Literally everything. The Japanese market had a crazy situation. I think it's the worst situation since 1987 or so. And since we all know that the Fed is going to start cutting again over in September, and we all expect the markets, because there's almost no other way, the markets to really thrive on that from September on forward. Right now, we all expect, since that number was known, or I should say the cuts were known up front for the most part already, that the markets kind of priced it in, and right now a correction was quite logical in the mainstream markets. And since Jump and I guess a lot of the newer companies that have joined in probably expected this to happen for stocks, perhaps they also reflect this back onto crypto, because it's still kind of a risk asset, or I should say risk on asset, even though I don't think it should be. I think it should be quite the inverse. But again, sometimes the actual purpose of it is not decided by what it stands for and initially what it is, but mostly how the people perceive it. And with Bitcoin/crypto, the sector right now, people still see as a little bit risky rather than the safety from the traditional stock market or traditional currencies. Take some time though. It takes some time. But I do believe a lot of the selling here, even still right now, is manipulation to get prices to go down further, because the big guys, the big institutions, they're not letting go. They've got a multi-year plan. Larry Fink, and keep this in the back of your head, Larry Fink, the CEO of the biggest asset management company in the world, BlackRock, the biggest asset managers in the world, has said that it's kind of smart, basically, to get yourself some of these coins to offset the traditional markets. Right now, it's acting kind of in a direct correlation. Stock market goes down, Bitcoin goes down. Eventually, it'll most likely act in a completely opposite or literal inverse correlation, meaning the stock market goes up, Bitcoin stays either stable or might go down, and potentially opposite way, or mostly just Bitcoin just keeps going up because of scarcity, because of all we explained before, but slightly less hard when the market's doing really good, but most likely so it basically looks like this, right? Stock market goes kind of upwards and Bitcoin goes kind of upwards. Stock market goes down, Bitcoin goes up hard. And there the inverse correlation comes in, if you know what I mean. Because again, realize, what are people buying it for, really? Anyway, many people in the comments section and that I've spoken to have also noted upon Mr. Buffett selling $270 billion worth of assets recently and having all this cash. Think about it for a second, right? And I really want you to think about this. If a US recession hits, what is safe? Oh, the Japanese stock market was always so good to diversify. Well, it just took a freaking plunge, the worst in 50 years. That would have not been safe. Oh, but I can just sell now to keep cash because well, cash is not really safe because if the U.S. hits a crazy recession, the dollar might not do that good for a little while. It might do, but I'm just saying it might not. Oh, but then I will just buy homes. I will buy property. Property won't really do good in a crazy recession. Oh, but I will switch over from a risky thing like crypto and buy some stock. What are your stocks going to do when there's a recession, goofy? And so I keep getting back to the idea of proper diversification is pretty smart. But ultimately, I can't think of anything that is so much better than crypto, and that is actually something that most people disagree with me on for some reason. They keep saying that crypto is so risky when I keep on saying, isn't everything? Oh yeah, but houses are so stable. It might take a lot longer time, but your house can devalue by some great margins too. It's not even been 20 years since we saw something pretty crazy happen to the housing market, right? It's not even 20 years ago, right? It's like people forget that every market can do some crazy things. Crypto is a lot quicker. It's a lot more volatile on a very short amount of time. But Bitcoin in reality has that appeal to it as well, that you can, that's what a lot of people like it for, make crazy money really fast, but also that it's different from most of the other asset classes. And the way I see it, because crypto always moves, or at least has always moved in a pretty similar pattern, and by the way, right now in terms of price, we have not really gotten anywhere in terms of a crazy correction yet, right? I drew this out for you guys back in October or something like this, maybe somewhere all the way back there, maybe even earlier, we drew this whole cycle chart out. And still, as of this point, we have not crashed to a level where it's strange in the grand scheme of things. People say, oh, but the bull run is over. Shut your ass up. Look at this right here and tell me that what we're seeing right now in terms of price is really quite different from what we've seen before. No, it's not. No, it is not. No, it is not. No, it is not. You have corrections in bull markets. Nothing that's happened right now has deviated from previous times. Kind of depends on when you think the bull market started. But even if you look back in the 2017 crazy crash that happened, right? Or after 2017 bull run. And then back in the end of December of 2018, when we start picking it back up, you can see, you might say, oh, but this is because of COVID. I don't care. The price went down crazy after hitting a pretty good peak before the halving. After the halving, also had a pretty crazy drop. Not sure percentage-wise what it was, but pretty hefty. Then again, over the next few months, it just grew up like crazy. And here I believe the same thing is going to happen. And I'm tired of telling people this and backing it up with the previous cycles to show that whatever we're seeing here, it's not that weird. Again, most of the time it's a 90% correction and then a pretty crazy road upwards. And yes, there are dips. Yes, there are many where you might hate your life for a little bit and you're really, really fearful. Here there was a 40% correction in the midst. Right now, let's see quickly. Yeah, we also saw Bitcoin price go 30% down. Not really different from what we've seen previous times. And in this case here, let's see, we even went down 72% over like 3/4 of a year, or about 2/3 of a year. Yet if you just kept on buying, look at this. Over the next, I'm going to say year and a half or so, you would have had 20 times your money. But if you're a little whiny ass and you're like, oh, but I think it's going to zero, short it with everything you've got and show me the short. You know, send it to me, send a little screenshot or whatever, showing me that you're actually convinced it's going to go to zero. Because most people are all talk. No, crypto's over, but they don't put their money where their mouth is. Most people don't. So it's all talk. It's all talk. You always see my positions here on the channel. I always show you the crypto, faith, and I stick with my gut. I stick by it. And I'm not really a big fan of shorting crypto because, again, I'm just so bullish. There are a lot of instances where shorting would work, but I'm mostly a fan of if you're in a bull market, like, again, history has shown that we're in right now. Yes, things might get worse. Some of my friends have said 44,000 is going to happen. Hey, maybe, right? But longer term, it'll all be fine. And as long as you have enough breath to hold on for a little bit, I think it'll all be right. And you might say, oh, Dusty, but you've got millions of dollars on the line. You're biased. I don't think so. I can literally just pull it all out today. It's literally as liquid as could be. So it's not an issue of, oh, I'm stuck in this forever. No, I can literally cash out everything right now and do something else. But I just think that this is one of the best areas to go for, and that's why I'm so excited about it. Not the opposite way, because I've invested all this money, I'm excited about it. Because you got to remember, for me, this business has been such a long journey that I can never be down money. I can be down on whatever I've gained, meaning there's less gains, and after a little while, you start to see the gains as your current new money, right? Let's say, for example, we started with $1,000, it turned into 5 million, whatever, I'm just picking some numbers. And then it's been that way for like a year or two, right? An example. Now it kind of feels like you've got 5 million. I just want to say, because it's been for years now, you kind of got that. You might not cash it out, but at the end of the day, if you're cashing it out just to buy the same position again, that's like owning it, if you understand where I'm coming from. So that makes it a little bit of a 50-50 situation where you're kind of down on whatever you've had for a while, but on the opposite side, since you only started with like 100 or 1,000 bucks or whatever, it's like whatever. Anyway, I got a little bit wrecked on Solana, like I said before. Got really unlucky with that, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. All will be up soon enough. Yes, it might take a little bit more time, but if you're able to buy your way down, you're not being a whiny ass, and you're not over leveraged, because I got screwed a couple times, I'll show you later. I think this is really profitable. The next few months will be crazy. But again, I will probably start changing up the videos a little bit, because I notice people are not, some people can't be saved. Some people can't be saved. But yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you press that like button. And I really hope that you guys stick with me through this journey. Because the way I see it is, if I do well, you guys do well, and the opposite. I look at all the comments, and even when somebody says the born is over, time to hunker down, I want to see people say this and actually put their money where their mouths are. Because most people just say that without actually committing to it. And that I do not appreciate. But yeah, I appreciate you all for sticking with me through this journey. They're news videos, but they're also a lot about my life and my thoughts on the crypto space, which is a very big part of my life. So, hope to see you guys again in the next crypto video, because most likely, guys, the next few months are going to be so crazy.